It's a whole completely different thing. And I mean, first of all, watching Lucha Libre, obviously the masks are so ingrained culturally there and in the essence and the fiber of what they do that they're accepted, just without even question. In wrestling in the United States, masked wrestlers, the Destroyer, Mr. Wrestling 2, Mil Mascaras, who was a big star, even though he was from Mexico, was a big star in this country. You could go on down the line of great masked wrestlers from days gone by, but then it came to a point where every time, in some places, every time they wanted a new job guy, well, they'd just stick Fred under a mask and call him the Green Hornet or the Blue Shadow or the, fucking Crotch Rod or whatever. Masks were devalued and kind of prostituted, and it took a really big push behind a guy like the Spoiler or the Masked Superstar Bill Eadie or something to get a guy over. But it was great because you could try to take the guy's mask off and everybody wanted to see who it was because nobody really knew who they were. And in the days before the internet, and it was exciting, but just because Sin Cara didn't work doesn't mean that the mask doesn't work. It just means that guy didn't work. And Rey Mysterio, the mask added a lot to his presentation. He's a phenomenal talent anyway, but he looks like he's 12 years old, so the mask helped. Whereas Mr. Wrestling 2 was a great talent, but he looked like he was 80 when he was 50, so the mask helped there in the opposite direction. The mask, helped a lot of guys maintain an aura and a mystique, but also they knew how to work the mask gimmick. And Wrestling 2, we had been working a program with him and Magnum TA in Louisiana for a better part of a month before I ever saw him without his mask on. And a lot of that was because obviously the dressing rooms were separate. Baby faces and heels couldn't get together if they wanted to, but also because he wore the mask to the building. He took a shower in it and he wore it out. And finally, we saw him driving in his car one day on the interstate, and Dennis Condrey, who had seen him in Georgia, said, "There's two." And when first time I ever saw him, I said, "Now I know why he wears the mask." Because he looked great from the neck down and he could wrestle and he could talk, but he looked old from the neck up. And that was what extended his career, made him bigger as Wrestling 2 than he ever was as Johnny Walker. So it depends on the person that you're putting the mask on. You got to get behind the push and make it work. And it may be that it's one of those things, along with everything else about wrestling these days, it just doesn't work anymore because people have prostituted it and devalued it. Who knows?